Hey, what's going on? 2DK Jury. It's me, it's Gavin. Appreciate you watching this video. Sometimes it's just easier for me to talk and see what happens. Hopefully it's mostly congruent. You can understand where I'm coming from with a lot of these points and get a little bit more in depth onto why I played the way I did. I've got a document that I'm typing up, and that'll sort of talk about the game moves a little bit more in detail. But there are some just like theoretical things that had a lot to do with my game, a lot of my history playing ORGs, and specifically Survivor, that I think will help you understand my game a little bit more. I'm assuming there are going to be lots of questions. I'm looking forward to them, of course, but if I can clear some things up right away, that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to sit here and talk to you a little bit about me and the game that I played, because it might be a little confusing to people. People might not understand why on paper it was such a safe game and I just kind of like rode along to the end and didn't really do anything. That's not what happened. We all know that when we play a game of Survivor, no one truly just sits around and lets things happen. At least I would hope not. That's not how I played at all. I was very, very active this game. I initially made a ton of connections early that served to benefit me throughout the course of the game, and I wanted to talk about why that worked and why I'm here at the end, why I'm here with no votes cast against me. I'm the only player all season to have that be the case. I think that it's for a reason. I wanted to play a very insulated game this time, something under the radar as best as I could. I learned very quickly that it's just not going to be super possible for someone like me. I'm a very social person, so I want to get to know everybody on my tribe, everybody on the cast that I'm playing with. And a little bit of history for me in ORG past is that I never have made it past 7th, and a plurality of the time I get voted out 8th, just to like really rub salt into that wound. So I really wanted to make it further this game, and I go into every game with that goal. But I made some proactive steps to try to make that a feasible and a realizable goal this game. And that included making sure that no one wanted me gone. And here's how that works is, that's obviously the goal, is to not get voted out. But there's a difference between not getting voted out and having people not want to vote you out. You can not get voted out just by circumstance, right? If you're not going to catch a single vote all game, one could say it's because you weren't in the spotlight enough. But I had my hand in a lot of alliances. I was very and even openly playing as many sides as I possibly could. And I was able to garner information on as many sides as I possibly could. I mean, at one point, apart from Gengar's idol, I think I was the only person in the game to know where every single advantage lay. And that was on account of a couple things. I mean, that was on account of my relationship with Licity, who had the omniscience advantage. And I was coupling that with my relationships with Gengar and Amy and Mia, and coupling that with my relationships with Typo and Indigo, which I formed way early on in the game, in the fact that we weren't even on the same tribe. And then when I ended up starting working with Typo for the first time, me and them, we got along super quickly, super easily. And I was on a swap where I was in a minority with the person that I trusted the least, and then proved my distrust further. I mean, pre-merge for me was a little bit of a struggle just because I'm not a challenge person at all. This was evident. I was not safe. One tribal council that I attended, throughout the entirety of the game, I never had any safety besides my own wits. And that's typical of me playing Survivor. I'm not used to being safe. I don't get individual immunity, okay? It's only happened once, and that was during the pre-merge. And I got voted out the next tribal council, so that didn't work well for me. My plan this game was really to have as many options as possible and belay picking a side as long as possible. And I was able to do that for a while still being transparent. And that I think is also super impressive, is that I was able to let people know where my loyalties lay, and they still weren't threatened by me because they all wanted to work with me. And I think that's because I showed a genuine interest in wanting to work with everyone, and that was evident in a lot of the votes when, let's say, Andrew gets voted out. That's not something I really wanted to have happen because I had just started to work closely with him. I had created a rift in between him and Mia, and I wanted to use that further because at that time, both Andrew and Mia trusted me separately. So I wanted to make sure that I was always insulated. So, I disseminate a little bit of rumors between the two of them so they think that they're targeting each other earlier than they are, and I'm safe in the middle. We move on to when Baron gets blindsided. I also get blindsided. Licity, with whom on that original swamp tribe, I wanted her gone so quickly because I did not think there's any way in hell I was going to work with her. She ends up becoming my number one ally throughout the whole game, and she and I worked together really well. And that was something that I was also able to keep fairly under wraps because people just assumed that the duo there was Licity and Typo, and it was later into the game when they realized that we were working as a threesome until I had to cut Licity because I realized that she and I were both playing a very similar social game, and that I was probably better off if I was setting myself up to be in the final tribal council. I would be more well set without her. And a lot of setup for final tribal council happened in that late game too, where I realized that I wasn't sure that I had an ideal final tribal council. So I started doing things to make sure that my end game lined up well no matter what would happen. I think the only thing I really didn't want was I didn't want to compete against Typo and Mia at the same time. Because I know Typo was perceived as sort of a leader of these alliances, but hopefully I can detail a little bit more into the fact that I was the one who created these big alliances and the one who held them together while still being under wraps, while not having an immunity necklace to hide behind, while not having things be handed to me, like by actually working to attain these goals throughout the game. And I wanted to prove that against them at Final Tribal Council. But when Mia started winning, I wanted to make sure that my game was well insulated in case she ended up here with me as well. And I would have been totally okay with that, so long as it wasn't me against Typo and Mia, because that would have been too uphill of a battle for my taste. But I was even fine bringing Mia along when other people weren't fine bringing her along, because I knew that she was a very reactive player and played a very reactive, volatile game. So I was chipping away at her game the entire time. I was able to convince people that she had like way more shots in the dark than she did, just on account of me being more comfortable without Gengar in the game, and I'm totally fine keeping Mia around. So I was like, yeah, guys, we're not straight up can't get rid of Mia this round because she's going to play her shots in the dark. It's up to like at least 4 out of 6, maybe 5 out of 6. When in reality, I only knew she had 1 extra, and apparently she only did have 1 extra. So it's little things like that where I was able to start some fires and then put them out, which is why I was able to stay so insulated the entire game, because people saw me as the one helping their alliance and being open with them, like, hey, I'm close with this person, but I do still want to work with you. So that was all shaped by my games in the past, by always catching votes, never being good at challenges, always being very publicly the nexus of information. I would get caught trying to lie and deceive people. So I try to keep that to a minimum. If you're working with Gavin, you know who you're working with, because I showed a genuine interest in wanting to work with you. And my background in journalism is super helpful because I can see what you want out of a situation, and I can try to cater to that as best as I can. And hopefully, I've listened well enough and know that this is an open jury where people really respect the game and maybe they're not initially thinking, oh, Gavin's someone I want to vote for because he's been, too under the radar. But I do hope that I'm able to express that just because I was under the radar to be voted out, it does not mean I was under the radar when I was playing. I was playing very forthright. I was playing very aggressively in these big power alliances. I was still able to do things that were my own. And that's what the rest of this document is going to hopefully prove, that I was doing things that were my own. That's what questioning is going to hopefully prove. And I'm really looking forward to questioning because I want to be able to delve into what happened, as openly as possible so you can make a good decision as to who's going to win the game. I think I have the chops to win it. And I think I played a game that proves that, and I hope I can back that up. And I hope you will give me a listen. So, thanks.